How's it going, everybody? It is the Too Much Podcast, and we are back with another episode. Today, we're going to be discussing lots of good things as usual. We're going to be focusing on two positional rankings, shortstops and catchers. We are excited to do these. Me and Ethan have no idea what the other person has put down. There probably will be some disagreements. There probably will be some bias, and that's what makes it exciting. But before we jump into anything, let's talk about some recent transactions. Because as always, that's important to keep everybody in the loop. If anybody's using this as news, that's exactly what we're here for. The first one I'll touch on, I think it's probably the better one. Carlos Esteves to the Royals, 2-year deal, I believe. That is a really good signing by them. Obviously, offensively, we don't know how good the Royals are going to be. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point today. But that's a good thing to add for their bullpen because they lost they don't really have anything reliable out there. And I don't think James McArthur's a closer, so I do think Esteves is a good one to have out there.
Definitely a good move, and he'll be getting saves for sure. I don't know how they plan to use him exactly. They do have Harvey, I think,
Yes.
still.
I think
He's solid. But
Ludwig has to be gone, right? I didn't want to say that because I'm not positive, but at the same time, I haven't seen him get signed anywhere, and he definitely would have gotten signed.
I don't know if he's reached free agency yet in his career.
Which is kind of wild because I didn't know he was like a. I didn't know he was that. I knew he was on the younger side. I thought he was like maybe low 30s though, which I guess.
So they have him for 4 more years.
All right, so Ludwig is that's a pretty good pen. MacArthur, Harvey, that lefty they have there, I can't think of his name right now, but he's actually not bad.
Bubik. That's one of the lefties.
He's like the shorter Spanish guy. He throws cheddar.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's definitely not Bubic.
He throws absolute heat, but I actually do think their pen's pretty good.
Is that their first decent signing this offseason? I know they
Yeah,
re-signed Lorenzen, but I wouldn't really call that a great move.
I mean, I would say that that's their only signing because Lorenzen, I think he was like a really cheap deal, 8 million maybe for a starter.
I've heard Royals fans say that they're confident in Lorenzen, but I just don't see it. He was decent after he got traded, but not good enough to be a mid-rotation arm.
Yeah, and again, even if he is good, like who cares? I mean, they need to score. They don't need pitching. Like they don't need
We'll see
starting
if they do
pitching.
anything else. I don't think they're going to do anything else, though.
Yeah, I mean, poor Bobby Witt will rot. I guess they're just gonna trust on Sasquatch and Salvi and Bobby. I mean, that's a good three, but it's Miguel Garcia is not gonna be a top 20 MLB player.
No, he will not. They still have Renfro. They have Melendez. Very average outfield.
Wow, I just can't even believe I had to think of those two guys at the same time. Holy bad. MJ Melendez, probably one of the weirdest players because I always see him when I'm like making fantasy transactions. I see catchers, I see MJ there. I'm like, I don't want MJ. That guy fucking sucks.
I don't even know the last time he caught 1 inning in the major leagues. I'm not sure how he has that eligibility.
Yeah, it's probably the same way like some of the weirder players have eligibility at weird positions, like Jake being a first baseman.
Salvi does need some days off because he's getting up there in age, so
Michael
maybe
Jordan,
MJ will be behind the plate.
Michael Jordan's gonna break it down. We can have you touch on your second, but the second best one.
Max Scherzer.
Yeah,
So Max Scherzer signed with the Blue Jays, kind of out of nowhere. There wasn't really much rumors going on with Scherzer. It's a decent signing. I mean, Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers of all time. So if they can even get anything out of him, that helps the rotation a lot.
yeah. And if you guys watched last time, we talked about Scherzer being a kind of a closer potential, but we think he's going to be starting in this decision, or at least brought in as a starter potentially. So I mean, I was looking at their bullpen. I think they have enough back out there after realizing it, but it is can't hurt. Having a guy like that around cannot hurt unless he's probably going to be hurt though, so I guess it will hurt. No pun intended.
They really should rest him as much as possible. Give him some days off, some weeks off, and keep them healthy because they're going to need them if they want to do anything in the AL East.
Yeah, yeah. Can't hurt. Definitely a good person to have around. Um, I'll touch on two quick ones, two smaller ones, two trades. Ryan Presley got traded to the Cubs. I don't know what was returned for it. I probably was like money, but I think that's a pretty good trade. I think the Cubs will be pretty good this year. Always good to put veterans in your pen. He's pretty trustworthy. He's not very good anymore, but he can definitely be a guy. I mean, is that going to be their closer? Like, that's
I think he'll
probably
get
not a
some
good thing.
saves. It will be a committee, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the guy that I had there for a little while. Blanking on his name, but he was actually pretty good. Hodge, yeah, Patrick Hodge, maybe.
Yeah, that was the guy getting saves at the end of the year. They lost Alzolay, who was never gonna do
Yeah,
anything for them.
yeah,
He got TJ and then like a DFA'd, so it might be Presley.
yeah. Presley and Hodge, not great, not great. Taylor Rogers to the Reds, lefty getting traded to the Reds. I think that they will be better than people think, but I don't know what I don't even trust Alexis Diaz sometimes out there. He's pretty wild.
Reds are a weird team.
Yeah, I trust Tito though.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I think he's gonna make them play clean baseball, and I don't know. I like having a guy like that I can trust.
The Reds do play hard and they have a good ballpark for offense, so the
Yeah,
balls might be flying there this year.
yeah. I mean, they need Ellie and Tyler Stevenson to like really take big jumps. And why I just said a shortstop and a catcher is because we're gonna jump into our rankings of shortstops and catchers. We're gonna start with shortstops. We're gonna go from the bottom up, including one honorable mention each. Now, I want people to understand that this means the best shortstop right at this time, on February 1st, not on July 20th, not on last July 20th. If you think Francisco Lindor is going to replicate those statistics, sure, he could be higher on this list wherever we put him. But let's remember, it's February 1st. That's where we're ranking these guys. I will start off with my honorable mention, Zach Neto. I think he is one of the better defending shortstops in baseball. He had a 2020 season, which is not easy. I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite one, but I would be happy to have Zach as my shortstop on my elite team, especially his contract.
My honorable mention is another young shortstop, Mason Wynn. Another really good defender, throws the ball very hard. Um, some solid power, and he steals bases too. He's not exactly a top 10 shortstop yet in my eyes, but I think he'll be solid for the Cardinals. One of their better players.
I like that one because he has to bounce back because I think he was pretty slow starting last year. He is fast as shit. Seems like a really nasty fielder. I would expect him to definitely take a jump this season, especially on that team. Good God.
It's a bad team.
I mean, him and Jordan Walker. Oh, Nolan Arenado. I guess they'll just have a nasty left side of the infield or something. Even though Nolan's really probably regressed a lot at third base and defensively.
If he's even still there by opening day, who knows?
Sounds like he will be though.
Nobody wants him.
I don't know why like a weird ass team wouldn't go get him. I mean, he's costing probably nothing. I'm not gonna say a specific target, and this is just an idea, but like you can't tell me a team that are in that middle end, the Royals, the Tigers, like they can't use him in some fashion. He's gonna cost nothing. I'm sure they have to eat some contract, which is probably why they haven't did that.
At this point, I assume he just waive his no trade to way more teams than he originally stated.
Yeah, he's a weird player. Um, I'll go to number 10. This guy I think is only on the list because of last year. I know I mentioned it's today, but I do think he could replicate a solid power season on a team that's going to need him to. He got a big contract this offseason, which is really Adames. I don't think he is anything higher than 10, and I'm just barely put him on this list.
I have a Tovar at 10. Rocky's probably second best player. I think he was second in the league in doubles or somewhere up there. I think Duran led the league, but pretty solid power bat. Strikes out a ton though, so that's kind of concerning. But a really good young player.
At number 9, I have C.J. Abrams from the Nationals. Mr. Gambler is going to have to get back on track because this could go from number 9 to number 19 if he doesn't. Had a really bad second half, but he was disgusting in the first half. I'm not sure how exactly accurate 81 games was in terms of his dominance, but I remember watching the first, 60 games, and he was definitely tearing it up, stealing bases. Another 20-20 guy. He was probably even more like 25-25 if he got to that many homers. But I really like the kid. I think he's really just a good player to have on your team if he gets out of the casino.
I have Willie at 9. Adames. I'm not a big fan of him, but he had a great year last year, and he's kind of just a solid player.
Yeah, 31 homers. That's a lot for a shortstop. Number 8, I have Ezekiel Tovar. Like Ethan said, kid is a stud for a bad team. To me, Zeke Tovar could be way higher than this if shortstop wasn't so great at the top for hitters. There's so many stud hitters at the top, so it's hard to put him higher than this, but I love that guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league, and I think the Rockies did a good thing extending him.
This might make some people mad, but I have Trey Turner at 8. Kind of digressed quite a bit the last couple of years. He isn't exactly the superstar he used to be. Still fast, still hits for power average, but he's not the MVP candidate that we thought he was going to be.
At number 7, I have Elly De La Cruz, one of the most exciting young players of the game. Like I've said before, I think he will be the all-time steals guy when it's done. Now, it's a hard thing to say, but I'm just going to throw a crazy quest out for him. I think he'll get back on track with this, maybe cut down his strikeouts a little bit, but it seems like he's going to be kind of a higher strikeout player. Needs to clean up his mechanics, but Ethan had mentioned maybe going to the outfield for him. I think that's not a bad idea, but I do think he's good enough to play shortstop.
I also have Elly at 7. I think he has crazy potential. He's one of the most athletic players in the MLB. He just has some holes still, and the power potential is really insane with that speed.
Yeah, I agree. At number 6, I have Trey Turner. I would agree that he's regressing. I think he's still a little too good, especially had a better year last year after that horrible, pathetic 2023. He's just, I agree. It's such a weird player because he's not old, but he's not young. He's supposedly one of the best in baseball, and I just haven't seen that from him as of late.
I'm definitely putting a lot of faith in this player, putting him at 6, but Carlos Correa.
Okay.
Correa last year had a 900 OPS in the games he played. He still has the potential to be a top shortstop in the game. He's just been so hurt. So I need to see another year out of him before I write him off, but the Twins need him bad.
Completely fair take to say that Carlos Correa is one of the best. Because what we saw from him in the past, he is a stud. Injuries on a weird offensive team, they do need him to be good. I think he is one of the best defensive shortstops that we've seen. And he definitely, it was hard to leave him off of this list for Willie Adames even. Number 5. This is where it gets interesting, folks, because people are going to get offended. Number 5, I have Gunnar Henderson. I am not a believer in Gunnar being one of the best. He's definitely not the best. So if you think he's number 1, you're smoking meth. He is a really good player that I think is on has tremendously improved considering how slowly he started. I think he has a lot of home runs in the tank. He's going to be a power guy, but it seems like he's going to be a strikeout guy. He's a machine when it comes to the bat sometimes, but sometimes he is really slow as well. Really solid defender. Definitely a good player.
This will probably also make people mad, but I have Lindor at 5. He had a great year last year. I think I heard he finished second in MVP, but the numbers aren't that crazy offensively for a guy that's second in MVP. He stole bases. He was a fantastic defender. He'll probably be a good defender his entire career, but I don't think he's better than the guys I have ahead of him.
I will lead that into my number 4, Francisco Lindor for me. I completely agree. Like Ethan has said, the offensive numbers are hard to believe they're number 2 in MVP race. People actually believe that he should have been number 1 over Ohtani. Like, there were genuine believers in that, which is scary concerning. But yeah, I just think he's one of the smoothest players in the league. He is just like so overrated, though. His entire Mets career has been extremely mediocre. I mean, he was been like MVP favorites his entire life there, and he's never really been that good besides last year.
At 4, I have Corey Seager. Corey Seager's been one of the best players in all of baseball the last couple of years. Plays very well in the playoffs. Tremendous power. Probably maybe the best power hitting shortstop on the list. He just has some injury concerns.
He is my number 3, Mr. Corey Seager. I like playoff players. I like lefty bats. I think he is one of the best hitters in baseball, yet alone shortstops. I do agree the injury thing is a problem, but I'm a believer in him when he's on because he can be really tough to get out.
At 3, I do have Gunnar. I don't love him as a player. I'm not the highest on him, but his last year and a half statistically is maybe the best of some of the players in the entire league.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to the top of the list. All these guys deserve to be here, which I guess slides us into number 2 for me, which is Mookie Betts. I think if you have Mookie below Corey Seager, Lindor, Gunnar, like you're just asinine. Let's not forget who this guy is. I think he could be top 5 in 3 or 4 positions in the MLB. Guy's a stud. Should be playing for the Red Sox. I can't root for him because he plays for the team I hate the most, but the guy is pretty much Mr. Reliable.
I have Bobby Witt at 2. He had a crazy breakout season last year. If he does it again, I'll have him number 1 easily. I just need to see it a little bit more.
Which will slide me into my number 1, which is Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt to me is one of the most dynamic players in the game. His season last year was really impressive. I would argue that he is pretty much the sole reason they were in the postseason, obviously outside the pitching. But he, to me, is just a little too good to think he's going to get worse or regress.
And I have Mookie at 1. He's probably been a top 5 player almost his entire career, and it's kind of crazy he's playing shortstop now. I don't even know if he'll be good at shortstop. He's one of the best right fielders in the game, but I just always believe in Mookie.
Very fair take there. And I mean, I took Mookie Betts with my first pick in our player draft. Clearly, I have some, respect for him. I think what he does as a hitter is so impressive. That's why I took him first. But I think if you add like everything about baseball, including like young, no injuries, stealing, defense, I just think it's hard. It just they're neck and neck for me.
And Mookie has a little bit more help than Bobby does on his team.
Yeah, I would say so too, considering he had a guy hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a season.
He's sandwiched between 2 MVPs in the batting order.
Yeah,
Bobby not.
but I think Mookie would be leading off for 29 teams.
Yes, maybe not the Phillies because they like having Schwarber bat 200 at leadoff.
Definitely a weird philosophy. I guess it's kind of worked until they get to the playoffs. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of our shortstop lists. Who's a name you're surprised isn't on it? Who's a name you're surprised is on it? And who are you most excited about at the shortstop position? Let us know. Jumping into our catcher ranking. Probably the boringest position in baseball. Probably one of the hardest positions in sports. To me, there's just not a lot of dudes at this position. I think this position has never been worse than it is right now. And maybe it's because the standard has gotten so high. Like catchers in the 2000s defensively, I don't think even compare close to these kids. But, I mean, hitting has gotten so important that, like, you put shitty catchers out there all the time just because they can hit. But, I mean, we'll see where we're at on this one. It's a tough one. I'll have you start this one with your honorable mention.
My honorable mention is Sean Murphy. I think he has had one of the best careers in the league for catchers still playing. He just was so bad last season, but I'll give him one more chance to bounce back.
My honorable mention is Logan Ohapi. I think that he is a really solid player on a really bad team. He's gonna need to continue to hit. Um, he's just again, I don't know if he's good enough to be in the top 10, but it seems like a pretty good player.
At number 10, I have Moreno with the Diamondbacks. He dealt with some injuries last year, but he is a pretty good catcher. He didn't really have a chance to show it as much as he did 2 years ago, but I think he'll bounce back.
I think this list is gonna be where we have the most very like differences because there are so many average players. So I think that's kind of exciting. My number 10 is Austin Wells. Now, Austin Wells is a very average hitter. I think he has some slugging capabilities and he's a really good catcher. He's also really young. I think he definitely will be a better player than people think. So I'm going to have to include him on the list due to his defensive capabilities and offensive upside.
I have Kirk at 9. I'm not really sure how Kirk is good at baseball when he looks like a baseball, but he hits and he's been doing it for the last couple of years.
There's definitely some older players or players that have been around longer than others that are going to probably get left off, like Sean Murphy and Kirk for mine. Um, Number 9 for me, I have Wilson Contreras, the one from the Cardinals. I mean, statistically, in the time he played, he was pretty good, especially offensively. Pretty reliable defensively. I hate the guy, to be honest, but pretty reliable if he can be on the field.
I left Wilson off just because they said he's probably playing first base this year. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I probably would have had him in my top 10.
Yeah,
At number 8, I have JT Realmuto. I think he's a big concern for the Phillies with how much he's kind of trending downwards. He's still one of the best catchers that we've seen in recent history, but I don't think he's that guy anymore.
very fair take there. I'm pretty optimistic on him, but my number 8 spot is Tyler Stevenson for the Reds. Tyler Stevenson has had a really good season previously. He was pretty good last year for quite some time. He needs to put it together for 162 games. I think they also were kind of dealing with the dilemma of starting another catcher a lot with his scenario. Like he was DHing some games, but he is a pretty good bat when he's hot, and he does get hot often. He also will get cold often.
I have Stevenson at 7. I agree with everything you said. I wish he would play a full season because I think he could hit 30 homers pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean he is definitely one of the higher upside hitters at this position. I think he's probably one of the worst defenders on the list, I would say, but I don't really know, I guess, in terms of statistically how he was last year compared to some of these guys at just fielding wise. Number 7, I have Salvador Perez. Now, Salvi is a weird one because he's a good hitter. I doubt he's going to catch a lot next year. If that's true about Contreras playing first, it's similar boat with this guy. I imagine he's going to DH quite a bit. But he just keeps putting up solid numbers. He's definitely one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. Definitely a shitter behind the plate, but he probably could be a Hall of Famer if he had more on his resume, honestly.
At number 6, I have Logan Ohapi. I'm very high on Ohapi. I've seen his power really show. He hit a couple big homers against the Red Sox, and all I've heard is that he's going to be one of the best catchers in the league in maybe next season.
I think that's very reasonable to say, and the guy is absolutely shredded. So I mean, I think he makes Tyler O'Neill look pretty small, and that's kind of hard to do. I think Ohapi could definitely have a good year. I feel like he's a guy I didn't watch enough. I guess I didn't really want to watch the Angels play without Trout on the field.
He's probably their second best player.
Yeah, I mean, him
No,
Neto
that's not a good thing.
him Neto
Yeah,
and
Neto's
Trout.
probably number 2.
I don't know. It's like three. I don't know. One dead guy, one guy that nobody really even knows about, and then this guy. Number 6, I have JT Realmuto. I feel like this position requires respect and requires consistency. That's kind of why some of these guys have made it on here. Um, Realmuto has obviously regressed a lot hitting wise. I trust him. He still can run a little bit. He's still got like a lot of potential at the position to be closer to a 5 tool guy, but he just pretty average at everything now besides defense, I would say.
At 5, I have Will Smith. If we did this last year, I probably would have had him top 3 pretty easily, but he had a pretty awful second half to the season last year out of really nowhere. And if he's not as good as he used to be, the Dodgers lineup is a little bit worse.
Yes, might drop him from like 109 wins to like a buck 05, but yes, he did have a questionable second half. Number 5, I have Yenner Diaz. I think that he is a really good young player. I don't know how the Astros keep doing this. Guys that I've never even heard of. I didn't even know who the hell Jeremy Pena was. I don't even know who this guy was. I assume he's young because, I mean, he's definitely got some upside to him as a hitter. Seems like a pretty reliable guy behind the plate. And I just feel like the Astros continue to do it right.
I have Yiner next for mine. Did I say Smith was 5? Well, Smith is 6. Yiner's 5. He hits for actually a very good average for catchers. I think he's might have the highest batting average for a catcher. And he has some power, not a ton, but I think he could tap into some more power next season.
I would say the average thing is a nice bonus. Is your list just like have an extra number on it or something?
I just don't have numbers.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I think I just said Smith was 5 on accident.
Okay. At number 4, I have Will Smith. Will Smith does scare me at the second half. He could totally have a Sean Murphy here, where he just shits the bed. But he could also have a Will Smith, Sean Murphy good year. So I agree with Ethan. It scares me about the second half. Seems hard for me to get him out of the top 5, but I do agree there's concerns there.
I have Salvi at 4. I think he still hits for very good power, but that's really it. He can't run the bases. One of the worst base runners in the league. He's an okay catcher, but he can't really catch every game now. He doesn't have the stamina for that or the body for that, but he still hits. He's not a over 800 OPS guy anymore, but I think his RBIs was upwards of 100 too, but that's because Bobby's on base every time he gets up.
He's probably pretty close to that 800 OPS thing.
Yeah, he was pretty close.
He definitely had a really hot stretch there for a while. God, I remember him was on fire for a while. Number 3, I have Adley Rutschman. I don't really know what to think about him. Such a weird player. I would think that he was going to get better. But like every time I keep being high on him, he kind of just takes a deuce. Last year was pretty mediocre considering what he's supposed to be doing. I think he could bounce back a little bit, but I don't think he is the best catcher in baseball.
I think I did rank 11 guys. So kick Moreno off the list. And at number 3, number 3, I have Cal.
Two. Oh,
I have 3 guys left.
You have 3 guys left? Okay, so you did. Okay, you rank one extra. Okay, yeah.
I ranked 11, yeah. So I had 2 honorable mentions. At 3, I have Cal Raleigh. Had a very good, very good season last year. Probably the Mariners' second best hitter right now. But still, as a catcher, he's not really putting up that crazy of numbers. The power is good, and he's a switch hitter, which is valuable, but it's not like an elite hitter if he wasn't a catcher.
I'm definitely probably a little too high on him, but I guess this position just sucks. I have him at number 2. I like the power. I like the switch hitting. Pretty solid defensively. He's a fatty. I don't know how he is good at defense. But the strikeouts are definitely an issue, and he's on a team that strikes out a lot, so it makes it look even worse. But yeah, I think he's pretty solid.
I have Adley as the second best catcher. He had a pretty awful season last year for his standards. He dealt with some injuries, so I'm kind of just writing that off a little bit. And he's still very young, so I think he'll be good again.
definitely think he'll be good again too. I just don't know how if he could ever get to. I mean, I guess this position just stinks. So I mean, number one's probably the same for both of us. It's William Contreras from the Brewers. Obviously had a really good year. Was probably one of the better hitters in baseball, yet alone catchers. Um, Another. If you would have told me he's the best catcher in baseball, if you went back to some of the eras that we've had of catchers, I would have kind of laughed at that. But he was really good last year.
Yep. Contreras number one. I don't see any other way to choose somebody over him. And the Brewers are really going to need him this year if they want to do anything.
All right, sorry for the cut there. Just had to go to the bathroom real quick. We're gonna jump into 6 players, 3 each. Talking about bounce backs. This basically means a player that really just didn't do what they were expected, not even close to it. And if they'll get back to it, or we think they will. I'm gonna start with mine. Mine's gonna be Josh Hader. Now, Josh Hader didn't have a bad season by any standard. He was a little wild at times, definitely sloppy, let up a lot of home runs, I thought, for Josh Hader. But I mean, he had like probably still mid 30 saves. Anyways, he had like a 3.8 ERA. That's really bad for Josh Hader. I think Josh Hader is still the guy to fear at that position. So I think he's going to get back to being a top 3 closer statistically, not just subjectively.
And ERA is kind of a weird stat with relievers sometimes because it can be so inflated from a couple blowups, with which he definitely had.
Yeah.
It's still like the only way to really like statistically break it down, but I do think he'll be better
What I
next season.
before you get to yours, what I thought scared me the most was what he did in the playoffs versus the Tigers. I thought he was really sloppy. That's
A
usually
lot
what.
of a lot of closers kind of were him and Class A
Yeah, God, he
both kind
was.
of blew it.
At least Clase had like 2 good outings.
True. My first one is somebody I don't even know if I believe in, but it's hard for him to be as bad as he was. Jackson Holiday, the number one prospect for a while before he debuted last season, and I think every media outlet had him as a unanimous number one. He had a 928 OPS in his minor league career and a 588 OPS in his rookie season. That is very bad. If he does that again, the Orioles will have to send him down and leave him down there because the Orioles want to make the playoffs and they can't have that in the lineup every day.
He goes down next year. I don't think he'll be a bust, but I think he'll be pretty close to calling it one. And I would imagine that OPS would be way lower if he didn't have that like 6 homer week that he had when he came back up.
It'd probably be like 500, if
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, he was literally a liability out there. They just need him to be like somewhat consistent. I think
I think he struck out in like 30 straight games after he debuted, which is so bad.
it is bad. I think he'll come back to something. Your brother seems to think he's done already forever, so he's getting written off close by a lot of people.
Besides Orioles fans, although some Orioles fans are probably writing him off because they're so mad.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he just, you know how when you look at a guy, sometimes you just know that they're a baseball player. He looks like a baseball player, but he doesn't look like a good baseball player to me.
He still looks like he plays in high school. Like the guy's not very big. He can hit for power, but he just looks so young still.
I thought they were way too good to honestly bring him up. I don't know why they did. I think they should have kept him down there forever.
It's not like he was 24 years old. He was 20.
Yeah,
I
it's.
I think he was 20 in the playoffs.
Did they really need to move him out of position to play second base that bad? I mean, I would think Jorge Mateo does the same thing that he was doing easily.
People thought he should have made the team at spring training, and those people were very wrong.
Yeah. Jumping in my next one, I've seen a lot of people talk about him coming back to Earth, I guess, which is Camilo Duvall. If you're not familiar with who this is, he's a closer for the Giants. He literally had a walkout song, a walkout ceremony going on. They would turn the lights off for him to come on the field. Clearly, they thought he was the closer. I think he has some of the best stuff in the MLB. The guy throws like low hundreds with movement. He is always going to be wild. I think when you have that kind of ability, you're going to be wild. But there's no way he posts a 4.88 ERA again and gets sent down to AAA at times. I think he'll be a closer again in the MLB. I think at least a solid one.
He'll probably get traded if they can't figure him out because there's no reason to just send him down to the minors. Some team will want him and try to figure out why he's so wild.
I'll take him.
That would help the Red Sox a lot. There were some trade rumors with him, but they were probably asking for too much.
Would you give Cutter Crawford straight up for him?
Maybe.
I
would have to look at the contracts, but it is a little concerning how bad he was last year. But 2 years ago, he was great, so it's interesting.
Wasn't he pretty nasty in the WBC?
I don't really remember. Probably because that was 2 or 3 years ago. He was good.
His 102 when it tails back is absolutely scary to look at. He should be nasty. He just needs to throw the ball over the plate.
Yeah, I'm sure they've been working with him a ton.
Yeah.
Down in the minors and giving them stuff this offseason to work on. Because it's pointless to have that down in the minors. Minor leaguers probably hate facing that.
And also the Giants, sure they had an average year and they had some injuries and whatnot. But if Duvall was great, they probably would have 5+ more wins. I mean, their bullpen back half was super average. I don't even remember the guy's first name. I just remember his last name was Walker.
He was actually pretty good. He's just not that exciting. And he would probably be a better eighth inning guy if Duvall was the dominant closer that he was before.
Yeah, it's crazy how adding just Duvall back to his old self would be a huge add to a bullpen.
Another guy I have bouncing back is Bo Bichette. He was awful last year, dealt with some injuries, sub 600 OPS after averaging nearly at 800 OPS for his entire career. He's going to be a free agent after the season, so expect him to try to play to make some money. And the Blue Jays really need it. He's definitely their projected second best player, I'd say.
Yeah, that's an interesting player that they really need to bounce back. If he's in the 600 range, I don't even know where he's going to go because they're definitely not going to re-sign him.
Pretty similar to Tim Anderson. They were both hit machines and then fell off out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, Bo must have got in a fight at a bar with Jose or something. Maybe he punched him, Jose Ramirez, just like Tim did.
Yeah, Vladdy probably punched him because only one of them's getting paid.
Yeah. Or I'd say neither of them are getting paid, honestly. Probably both walking in the free agency. And then
probably neither.
Then they're going to their best player is going to be Anthony Santander, who will be in a wheelchair in 3 years.
Face of the franchise.
Anthony Santander, who was a silver in MLB The Show a couple years ago.
He hits homers. He just has a 290 on base percentage.
Nasty MLB The Show card.
Which hits.
Yeah, he's great in the draft mode in the Battle Royale.
Probably be even better this year after his 40-something homer season.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on that later. We'll discuss that some more. But my next player is Spencer Torkelson, young player for the Tigers. He's definitely been underwhelming. He was pretty good 2 years ago. Wasn't great. He's pretty inconsistent. He got sent down, which was really weird. People thought the Tigers were selling out. They got really hot. I think that he looked a little better when he did come back up. I would be surprised if he is a 660 OPS guy for the rest of his career. I could see him totally being in the mid-7s, low-8s. And I think if you improve 660 OPS and 220 batting average to 250 and 800 OPS, the Tigers would love to see that, and they would improve a ton.
They've been treating him pretty weird, too. I don't know how they're going to play it out, because when they signed Glaber, it was rumored that Keith was going to play first, which means Torkelson's, DHing or not playing. But now they still don't have a third baseman, so maybe Keith will just play third.
I think that's going to be the plan if Breggy doesn't come. If Breggy does, then they probably will let Torkelson figure it out, or guess.
He could play DH. I don't know how he is defensively at first. Probably better than Keith, who's never played first in his career.
I mean, they need. I can't imagine they have a better DH option.
No, there's not too much going on over there for
Like,
above average talent.
no, especially hitting wise. I don't know.
My
That is
yeah.
so weird.
My last player I think is gonna improve is Walker Bueller. 5.4 ERA last season, coming back from his second Tommy John surgery. His last full healthy season in 2021, he had a 2.47 ERA, one of the best in the league. Even if he's a 4 ERA guy, that's a pretty big improvement, but I think he'll be in the threes for sure.
Definitely has a big role in Boston. Could have a massive role if he's a stud. And yeah, I think 247, people don't realize how good he was. That's not just good, that's disgusting.
One of the best postseason pitchers in this decade, too.
Besides that one at bat he had versus Mr. Acuna.
That was bad, but then when he faced the Red Sox in 2018, he went 6 shut or 7 shut
Yeah.
in the one game that we lost. I don't even know if we lost that
I
game. We
think
came
that
back in some of the late games.
wasn't that like the eight, that might have been the 16 in a game.
It might have been when JBJ hit the 1 run homer to tie it. I forget.
Yeah, that's normally we don't think about the bad of that series because we won it all, so really isn't too much to think about and be mad about.
Yeah.
Except we watched that entire game, stayed up the whole day. First time drinking alcohol, we were sitting there. Each drank like 3 drinks. Thought we were hammered watching that 18,000 long hour game.
Well, we watched 2 games basically.
Yeah,
Evaldi came out for another start.
that was easily watching Evaldi do that. That was my favorite pitching moment from a player ever. That was so awesome.
That's became one of my favorite pitchers ever just because of that.
He was so nasty there. He was shoving it in there. You could just hear the grunts, 100 coming in there.
He had pitched like 1 or 2 days prior to out of the bullpen. He came in throwing 101 in the bullpen, and then a day or two later, he throws 6 or 7 innings.
I could totally see him being a nasty closer, like for 2 seasons or something.
He could. He just got paid in
Yeah,
Texas, so after that's up, he's not going to need money.
yeah. Maybe he'll be the Red Sox closer again because basically was our best reliever, even though he wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, Dirty Craig was not too reliable in the playoffs.
No, no, no. Let us know what you think of our 6 players here. You think any of these players are going to stay the same? Do you think any of these players are going to progress even more? I'm curious to see what people think of Jackson Holiday. That's a big one to talk about right now in baseball. But let us know. We're going to jump into our next segment, which is one of our more fun segments to do versus each other, which is Would You Rather? I will start with Ethan. I'm going to do Would You Rather David Ortiz edition. Now, we are Red Sox fans. That's what makes this even more fun, I think. We got some pretty funny feedback on the Rafael Devers one that we did. But let's jump right into this. Would you rather Big Papi or Yordan Alvarez?
I'll take Poppy, but Jordan is probably the scariest hitter in the league. Like he's basically Otani as a DH. He's pretty ridiculous. I just think Ortiz did that for an entire career.
So, for everybody's context, this is basically evaluating at their best when they're all done, that kind of thing. Big Papi is kind of a hard one to trace because he was pretty much good always. Would you rather David Ortiz or Shohei Otani, just the DH version?
That's like so hard. I think Shohei's going to do it for longer.
You think? Like than Papi or longer than what people are seeing?
Like a longer stretch of this performance. Ortiz's highest homer season was like mid 50s, which Otani basically did last year with 50 steals. I'm taking Otani. I'm sorry, Bobby.
David was so good in the postseason. Oh my god, he was so good.
We'll get to see Shohei in the postseason the next 10 years. See how he does.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He'll be batting 200 in 10 years. He's still going to be in the team.
With 500 at bats.
needs to be getting paid like 100+ million those years. Would you rather David Ortiz or Frank Thomas?
I'll take Ortiz. Thomas was pretty nasty, but I just think Ortiz is a little better.
Would you rather David Ortiz or Nelson Cruz?
Cruz, one of the best power hitters this decade, just not as good as Ortiz, I don't think.
So you take Cruz.
Yes, or no, I'll take Ortiz.
Okay. Would you rather, my favorite one here, David Ortiz or Miguel Cabrera?
I think I have to give it to Cabrera. That's kind of crazy. He won a Triple Crown. He hit more homers in his career, I'm pretty sure. Not positive. Did he hit 600? I think he hit 600, Poppy at 500. So I think he just did it a little longer. But the postseason stuff for Poppy is just so like much better than literally anybody that's played baseball. But I'll give it to Cabrera.
Would you rather David Ortiz or Ryan Howard?
I'll give it to Ortiz on that one.
Would you rather David Ortiz or Albert Pujols?
I have to give it to Pujols. He hit 700 homers, I'm pretty sure. And there's only been two other guys in the history of baseball to do that, and he did it for so long. He probably should have retired earlier, but Pujols is a top 5 hitter of all time, probably.
Here.
Sorry, Poppy, I took a couple guys over you.
I was hoping you would say one of those guys because one of those three would create some controversy. But hey, that's fair. You took the bias out of it.
If it was just postseason, I'd probably take Ortiz over every player in the history of baseball.
I probably would too. I can't think of a current day guy that's even did it for one season what he did. I mean, Devers is pretty disgusting in the postseason.
Yeah, he just hasn't had the clutch situations that Ortiz had the chance to succeed in.
Yeah, Yordi's pretty good in the postseason too.
I actually have a couple guys that are the same on my list, so it'll be interesting to see.
Oh God.
The player I chose for you to do the Would You Rather is Freddie Freeman. And the first player, would you rather Freddie Freeman or Vladdy Guerrero Jr.?
Wow. We're starting off like that. Where to begin? I think that might be one of the hardest would you rather questions I've ever been asked. I think you could ask me would I rather jump off a plane or jump off a cliff, and I'd have an easier choice there. Those two guys seem to me like career ending at the same spot. I think I'm gonna go friggin' Vladdy. And I love Freddie to death. Vladdy is a little younger when he started. He's probably going to finish with a lot more home runs, which a lot of people like. To me, they're both probably going to be like Hall of Fame question players, even though I think Vladdy's pretty interesting. I guess I'll go Vladdy there.
Either way, people are going to be mad, so it's not really avoiding that one. Next one, Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson?
Freddie Freeman. Get Matt Olson out of the earth. He sucks balls.
Freddie Freeman's replacement, Matt Olson. Next, Freddie Freeman or Prince Fielder?
Oh my God. I don't know what Prince finished with. I just remember he was pretty friggin' good when he was older. Oh my God. I think I'm going with the fat ass. I think I'm going Prince. What do you think on that one?
I would have to look at the numbers, but that's not my decision to make.
I'm going Prince Fielder. I love Freddie too. Oh my God, that's so hard.
Freddie Freeman or Frank Thomas?
I take Freddie Freeman over Frank and didn't take him over the other guys. I'm going Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
I think Frank Thomas is like. I think we're comparing defense a little bit more with this one. Like I guess you could bring it up. Frank was not known for that. I'm going with Freddie.
That's fair. Freddie Freeman or Miguel Cabrera?
Miguel Cabrera. Just because Miggy's
Yeah.
one of the best ever.
Tough to take many people over Miggy.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman or Paul Goldschmidt, Yankees legend?
I think Goldie's prime was a little too short. I'm going Freeman. I think Freeman's old days are going to be way better than Paul Goldschmidt's old days, too.
I would agree, especially because he's now a Yankee. And Freddie Freeman or Albert Pujols?
I'll take Big Al, Big Daddy Al. Pearl. I mean, again, Freddie, this list, I think I could maybe be pretty flip of a coin on. I think Frank Thomas is a player that I don't know what he would do today. So that's why I had to go with Frank. I mean, Freddie.
That was kind of a tough one, I think.
Frank Thomas. I mean, is he a Hall of Famer? Or did he
He
cheat and
must
not
be,
get
right? He might be in. Hall of Fame. Yep, 2014.
his 2,500 hits?
So did you take Freddie over
Yeah. I mean,
Frank?
Freddie's a career 300 hitter.
Look at Prince Fielder because I really don't even know.
Yeah, me either. That one's tough. That one might be the worst take, the worst one I chose. Just because he was shorter than those guys by a lot.
Career 887 OPS though. Pretty nasty.
I mean, he definitely his prime was just short. Not his prime. His career was just short, but he was definitely pretty tough to get out.
2009.
He didn't K a lot
46
for a
homers.
fat ass either.
46 homers, 141 RBIs. Pretty good season there.
Freddie's won one MVP. Prince has none. Let's see how many Frank did. Frank has 2. So I mean, Frank has a lot of runner-ups for it, though. I mean, he has a career 520 homers. That's tough. Frank has a career 974 OPS.
Oh, jeez. I did not know it was that high. That's crazy.
I mean, he was.
I just know I hate hitting with him in MLB The Show. That's why I kind of don't like.
I think he cheated. If I'm right, but I don't know. We'll see what people think of that one. Let's go see what his playoff stats were. Played 3 years in the playoffs. Looks like they were awful in all of them.
We know Freddie's stats from this postseason pretty good.
Freddie's definitely a really good postseason player. Yeah, I mean Frank batted 220 in the postseason with 3 home runs.
Prince Fielder kicked off the ballot, I think, in his first year in the Hall of Fame because he did not receive enough votes. But that's basically because he didn't play for long enough, I think.
Yeah. I mean, 11 seasons maybe. Freddie Freeman has how many World Series? 2, right?
2.
More than Frank. Yep. More than Prince.
Probably a couple more in the next 5 years, however many more he has with the Dodgers.
Seems like he's going to be playing for at least 3 more.
I assume he'll retire there.
Yeah.
I don't see him wanting to go anywhere else.
I mean, he has a career of 900 OPS. And that's only with one season that was, like, truthfully really high OPS. He'll finish with 420 home runs, more hits than all those guys by a lot. He's going to finish with 3,000 hits when he's done. So, I mean, going back to this, I like that one. I think the one I chose wrong was Prince. I'm not even mad at Frank.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Prince just got a little bit of love.
Yeah, I just kind of remembered how big he was and thought, oh, that ball went over the fence probably. Or he ate it over the fence.
He had a couple sweet walk-offs when he would jump on home plate and everybody would fall over, cause an earthquake.
Yeah. He was really big. He definitely embraced being fat, too.
Probably why he had to retire pretty early.
Yeah. We'll pass on the... We had an idea for a GM for the day for AL Central, but we're going to pass on that. We're going to wrap it up with an MLB pitcher and bullpen draft. We're going to do this blind, so there's no Googling players, no reference of last year. I'm going to minimize my tab here so that it doesn't look like I am doing anything. And what I will do is I'm going to type who we drafted. Yeah.
Do you want first pick since I had first in the last one?
No, we'll do a fair trade and we'll ask Siri here. Hey Siri, heads or tails? Go ahead, pick.
Oh, tails.
It's heads.
Okay.
So I have the first pick here. My first pick is going to be Paul Skeens.
So now I get 2, correct?
Yes, that's fair.
All right. With my first pick, I will take Jacob deGrom. And with my second pick, I will take Tyreek Skubal.
Okay. Wow. So we definitely wanted Skubal there for sure. Not taking Sale. Not sold on the idea of him. I just want to be safe and make sure that I don't make a mistake. I will take Corbin Burns. I'm gonna take Shane McClanahan. I need to get a lefty. I trust it. Oh, hold on. Let me reiterate that. With my second pick, I'm choosing Corbin Burns, and with my third pick, I'm taking Shane McClanahan.
With my third pick, I will take Zach Wheeler. And with my fourth pick, I will take Spencer Strider.
Strider's a guy that I probably wouldn't have got to. I kind of just would have blanked on him because of injury. Wow. Okay, with my fourth pick, I'm going to take Emmanuel Clase, my closer. I think it has to be... They have 5 aces. Do I want any of them? I don't know if I trust Shohei. I need a couple seconds here to get through some teams. I think he's really good. Okay, with my fourth pick, I'm going to take Framber Valdez.
Back to me now.
Yep.
I guess I'll fill my last rotation spot with my fifth pick, Garrett Crochet. And for a relief pitcher with my sixth pick, that's so tough. I'll take Griffin Jacks.
That's a good one. Just so everybody's aware, this is a relief pitcher that doesn't get save outings at a very consistent rate. So maybe like 5 saves a year max. You said so. You need a closer. I get 2 more here. Okay, so with my 6th pick, oh my god, it's such a weird one because I had one in my mind that I took Framber over him. I need to pare down the team it was real quick. Okay, yeah, it was the same division. Good on Rangers. Think I'm gonna go with the Mariners. I'm gonna go with George Kirby. And for my 8th inning guy or my setup guy, I don't want Cano. I don't believe in Cano. Part of me wants to take Garrett Whitlock. Like really, honestly. I'm being completely honest. But
Not bad.
I can't say he is the best. I'm gonna go with the guy from the Indians. Blanking on his. The hell is his friggin' name? The guy that had a 1-5 for the Indians. What's his name?
Is it Cade or was it Gaddis?
Yeah. Cade.
Cade Smith.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Cade Smith. With my last pick, I'm going Cade Smith.
And with my last pick, closing, I'll take Devin Williams. I don't love it, but he's just been too good the last couple of years.
So you took the guy. We both took closers that let up massive home runs in the postseason.
Pretty much the worst closers in the playoffs.
But Class A season last year, I believe in Devin Williams too. I think he's probably top 5 closer all day.
I hope not.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So quick rundown there. I'll go down the list real quick. My 5 pitchers, I have Paul Skeens as my ace. My 2 is Corbin Burns. My 3 is Shane McClanahan. My 4 is Framber Valdez. And my 5th is George Kirby. Ethan's pitching rotation is his ace is DeGrom. His 2nd is Skubal. His 3rd is Zach Wheeler. His 4th is Spencer Strider. And his 5th is Garrett Crochet. Our setup guys, mine is Cade Smith. Ethan's is Griffin Jacks. My closer is Emmanuel Clase. Ethan's is Devin Williams. Let us know. I'm not going to post it in the TikTok, but I'll post this. Let us know in the comments which pitching staff, setup, and closer you would choose to go along with our all-star team.
So 1 Mariners pitcher we chose, 0 Dodgers pitchers of the 2 best rotations.
It is crazy.
Kind of crazy.
It is crazy because DeGrom, Strider, McClanahan are all coming off of stuff. So it's interesting to see. I think most people probably have those guys in their top 10, but like people forget about them, especially DeGrom and McClanahan. I mean, I bet Shane McClanahan people aren't even remembering he's playing for that team.
He's definitely their ace. One of the best pitchers in the American League, for sure.
Thank you for watching today. Hopefully you liked our rankings list. Leave a comment with any criticism, advice, something you disagree with. Just let us know in the comments. We'd love to read the comments. Love to have people just interacting with the video. Appreciate the support we had on our last podcast. It was awesome. I think we're almost up to mid 600 in views. That's definitely our best one so far. You know, if that was happening every time, we would be doing this very frequently because it is fun to see that support. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, follow the socials. We appreciate all the support, and we look forward to seeing you next time. We are going to record a quick video after this, which is going to be our MLB power rankings, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.